Welcome to Well Crafted Studio. I'm here to help you live inspired and create with purpose. So let's get started. Hi, welcome back. So today's tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to clean up a handwritten recipe to use in your crafts. So we're going to take a photo of a recipe, and we're going to turn it into a PNG file with a transparent background. And the reason we want to do that is because then we can go ahead and take it into something like Cricut Design Space and turn it into a cut file. And then the fun starts. Then we can go ahead and we can use it for something like creating a dish towel with HTV, or we can use etching cream and turn it into a stencil so that we can do Pyrex pans. There's just all kinds of fun things to do with it. But the first step to being able to make any of those crazy cool things is to clean up the recipe. And people are trying to do this in Cricut Design Space, and it was kind of difficult. I tried it. Part of the problem with it is that it's kind of clunky because you can't save your progress. So if you spent a really long time on the recipe and then for some reason you have to quit, it doesn't save it. So, and the other part is that every time I touched to get rid of something, it there was this delay and it just felt like it took forever. So I'm going to be using just my photo editing software that comes with my iPad, and then I'm going to be using Magic Eraser. So I'll show you guys how to get started. So go to my camera roll, and here's my recipe. It's for special K-bars. And we're going to go to the top here for edit. And I'm going to go ahead and first thing first, I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to grab these corners and pull it in so it's closer. And then touch done. Oops. And then what I want to do is play with the contrast. So what we're trying to do is bring the writing up and push the background back so that we can have that contrast so it's easier to clean up the background. So I'm going to touch the little circle with the plus and minus. And then on the side here is a little sliding scale. And so really, I can't tell you in particular which numbers to go for. So what I'll do is just play around with this and see what I like. Now, if we do too much, then we start to lose some of that writing and the detail of it. And if we do too little, then it doesn't really help us at all. So I'm just going to find kind of an in-between here. It's a little bit lighter. And then I'm just going to go keep playing with some of these sliders. Some of them will make a difference, some won't. But let's see. Contrast is a good one. So you can see there it really does help separate those two. And then the dot with the circle in it is the black point. And I kind of like that. I like how it really does seem to make some of those blacks deeper. Okay, so right here already it's a lot better than it was. So I'm going to put done, and it's going to save to my camera roll. Okay, so the next step is to open up Magic Eraser. Now that's an app that removes backgrounds. I think it has a free 3-day trial, so you guys can just try this or do a couple of recipes, and then it is a subscription model. It's like a $9.99 for a year. So if you clean up your stuff and you don't want the subscription to kick in, then you have to make sure you cancel it. I looked it up and it is available for Google Play too. So if you have an Android device, this still works. So let's go ahead and grab that. Pulls up my camera roll and get the special K-bar recipe. And right away it wants to go ahead and crop things, but you can do still in here as well if you want. Click done. And now this is where we do a lot of the work. So there are some different things on here, and it's not super intuitive, so I kind of wanted to show you guys. There's a little magic wand here, a little eraser. There's the little highlighter, which is actually a restore button, and then an inversion tool, and there's this little, I'll show you what that is. It's a little red thing. It's kind of one of my favorite things about this. And then there's also an undo button, and then if you tap the paintbrush, you can change the size of your cursor. So first thing I'm going to do is try to get rid of some of that background with the magic wand. So all you do is you touch it. And so you can see how much of that it took. Now, if it took too much or too little, there is a slider down here where you can kind of see how that works. So what you want to be aware of is you don't want to lose the edges of your writing. And so right now it's kind of hard to see that. And so what I can do is turn on that little eye, and now it's a lot easier to see. And so it did really lose a lot of it. You can see here, the red part, dark red part is where they think there was writing or dark spots. So I don't love that. So what I'm going to do is go back and undo. So start with that magic wand again. And this time I'm going to go ahead and leave a lot of it. I can make it bigger so I can kind of see a little bit more how much I'm losing and keeping. So right now it looks like the writing's still pretty good, but I'm losing that light, which is what we want. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is the eraser. So the eraser again has another slider down here, and that's actually the size of the cursor. And if we were to come up here to the little paintbrush, we can change the shape of the cursor. So if you had some really hard edges or something, you can use that. I really like the circle. And I'm going to come in here, and the first thing I want to do is get rid of this because it's not going to be part of my cut file, the cuckoo clock. So I'm going to go through with my eraser and just get rid of the cuckoo clock. Like so. And then the edges. And so it's kind of a design choice whether you want to keep the lines in here or not. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and save it without the lines. And then if I like the line look, I can go ahead and add lines when I'm in Cricut Design Space. You can also choose to keep the text up here or not. It's kind of up to you, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it. Now, one of the things I like about Magic Eraser is that we can go ahead and have that zoom, and we can get really super close up here. And there's a lot of different, so I'm going to go through and grab those center of those little things here. Now if I took too much, like so, I can again do the undo button. If you look here, the edges are really rough. And so I do want to go ahead and smooth those out a little bit. That's a little too big. Oops, and I'm not on the eraser. That makes a difference. Okay, so there we go. So we can kind of go through and clean those up. If you're going to be using Cricut Design Space eventually, there is, when you pull the photo in, there is some smoothing options. So that actually will probably get a lot of this little part here. But I still don't love it, so I'm going to be kind of close or careful about that and smooth that out a little bit. Now again, I got a little bit too much, and so I can go ahead and do the undo button, or I can use the restore button, which I really like. And that actually just brings back the original image in that area. So kind of a trick with some of these photos, you're going to get a lot of, let's see, like down here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my magic wand to try to get rid of some of this. But you look at how much is still there. And I could try playing around with the slider thing, or kind of a trick is to just go ahead and erase, erase that whole section. And then I can go with that restore tool, and I want to get the cursor to be the same size as the writing. So I'll undo that. See, that's probably about right. So then I can go through and I can just pull back that writing again. And just because I can see that dark red, so I know kind of where the image is, I can go ahead and get a really nice crisp look without having to do all that close-up erasing. And it kind of gives you some really smooth lines as well. But it is a little bit time consuming again, but I like having that look. So just a couple different ways that you can go ahead and clean up a thing. Now there is areas like this in my recipe where it's kind of like, I don't know that I need to have all of it. And so one thing to be aware of is that when you are erasing, whatever you don't erase shows up in the final image as being dark. So it's filled in. So like this doesn't look like a P at all. It's going to look like a oblong thing. And this isn't going to show the lines. It's just going to be like one mass of a thing. So I'm going to go through and get some of that stuff too. So again, I just use the slider. You can see where it cleans up that edge. So yeah, oops. So that's just like the basics of it. Again, if you touch that little eye, you can see where there's that transparent background, the checkered. And so I'm going to just keep cleaning this up. But before I finish that, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. Okay, so I'm super close to be able to finish this off and save it. But there are a couple areas where it's really like the center of this double. So the B and the L. So I could go in here, and sometimes when you try to erase things with a magic wand, it's like here I could just go ahead and touch that. But really there isn't enough there isn't enough for it to really be able to do that in some of these areas. And so what I want to do is kind of fake it. So like this S right here, there really isn't a center to it. But in order for me to be able to read the recipe really clearly, there are times where I kind of want to just go through here and just kind of make it a little bit. So I can go ahead and make it really big. I've got my little eraser on. And I'm just going to give a little bit of a kind of imagining how the line went. So this is not something you have to do. You can go ahead and just stick with what you've got, and that helps with some of the, you know, again, it's a personal preference depending on how readable or how authentic you want it. And so I'm like right there, that P right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I can make it really big so I can just get the very edge of the pixels. And you don't have to do a ton. You just have to do enough where it looks right to you. So wanted to show you guys that. And now I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys how to finish this off. So double check here, and you can see kind of again how it's open. Then right there I could tell that I lost something, so I'm going to come here and do that and then clean that up. But otherwise, let's pretend that this is all done and all the white's gone and we just have that reddish background and the black. And I know that this is what I want. I'm going to come up to the little export button, the little square with the arrow pointing up, and it's going to take me to this page. And this page right here is going to give me the option of saving it as a JPEG with a white background or a PNG with a transparent background. And you just tap which one you want. Or you can just tap edit background, and this gives you some options like you want a crazy dice pattern in the background, or you want something else, which again is not what we want to do for what we're working with. But if you were to, you know, just as far as the app goes, it's kind of a fun, silly thing. But we're serious. We're going to craft with it. So I'm going to tap the PNG and do high resolution. And that's just going to go right ahead and save it to my camera roll. And that does see down here that if you're having trouble saving it as a PNG, you can use Apple's. You can click this on and use that HEIF format, but I've not had any problem with this so far. So if we go now back to the camera roll, you can see there's our image, and that actually is, so I tapped it and you can see that it gets that black background. So this actually is a PNG file now. And that is how you clean up a recipe using Magic Eraser. And my next video, I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of what we can do with these recipes now. And I would love to see what you guys are doing with these as well if you do make something. So please pop over to my blog post and leave a comment, and love to do that. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and if you found it helpful, please like, comment, or subscribe below. And for more tutorials like this, visit wellcraftedstudio.com.